Yes, this episode is a birthday gift in celebration of Kylie. So,
Exciting. Thank
so
you.
let- we decided to do this publicly because why not?
Welcome to Wild and Finally Fucking Free, the show for disruptors, rebels, and revolutionaries who know they're here to change the damn world. I'm Kylie Patchett, your voice and visibility catalyst, and here we dive into unapologetic truth, magnetic messaging, and visibility that actually feels good in your body, your bones, and your business. We share the stories of the out-of-the-box, neuro-sparkly, creative, witchy wild ones, rewriting how we live, love, learn, and lead. This isn't about being louder. It's about being rooted, resonant, and regulated so you can be real, raw, and ready to roar. If you're done contorting yourself to fit the mold and you're ready to own your voice, your power, and your place in the revolution, welcome home. Let's dive in. Welcome back, Etai. Now, we just had a two-part series all about your story and how you came to human design. So if anyone has not met Etai, go back a couple of episodes and we'll put the links in the show note. And this episode is Etai again showcasing his genius for human design and storytelling through the body graph. Has very, very generously offered to do me a solar return reading, which is
Yes, this episode is a birthday gift in celebration of Kylie. So,
exciting. Thank you.
we decided to do this publicly because why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Something that you offer as one of your services. So we're like, you know,
Yes,
best case to
absolutely.
showcase it.
And just as a sort of a context or a disclaimer, we've been talking off air for how long now?
2 hours.
2 hours about
All sorts of things.
all sorts of things. So if we're a little bit more punch drunk than normal, you'll understand why.
Oh my God, that's such a good way of saying it. Yes.
And thank you for hanging in there with us. Oh, hello everybody.
So excited. So we're recording this 3 days before my birthday. And I love the fact that, like, I have never had any sort of return anything reading through human design, and especially not through true sidereal human design. And when you suggested that you offered me this gift, I was like, oh my goodness, yes, because I always book in some sort of reading around my birthday, whether it's a tarot reading or an astrology reading or whatever. But this is the first year that I have understood that I'm out of the closet, not the tropical design that I thought I was. We're coming out of the closet together.
Yes, so it's a beautiful thing, and I'm honored to do this with you. This is going to be fun. This is going to be lots and lots of fun. Yeah.
Do you want to start? What is a solar return chart? If you give us a kind of the cliff notes.
Well, let's talk about return charts in general, because there's a whole. What does it mean when we say return? Return to where? Return or what? What return? So in the case of a return chart, it's a return of a particular planet to the same place, position in the sky that it was when we were born. So this is why we can have any kind of return we want. We can have a solar return. We can have and we do have a solar return, right? It means that every year on in this case on one's birthday, the sun goes back to the same position in the sky astrologically. And it also means, by the way, that it goes back into the same gate and the same line that it was when you were born. And we know in your case, and let me see, do I have it shared?
Yeah, not yet. Do you want to share now?
Not yet. I'm going to share if I can figure out how to share.
While you're doing that, I will just add in, this is kind of like wild timing for me, because through the human design certification, I've never done, like in any of the other human design like training programs I've gone through, it's never been something that's come up about return charts, and I've only just done this module, so it's like fresh in my head. It's good timing.
Okay. Now let me know, what can you see?
So we can see the top part of the body graph down to about, that's perfect.
I'm going to minimize you
Yes.
Because otherwise I won't be able to see the entire chart. But I want to trust that you are still there.
Yep. I'm still here. I'm not just.
Okay, good. So where was yeah, we were talking about returns. In the case of a solar return, now if we look, where's your birth? Your birth chart.
Yep.
Is on the
Left-hand side.
left. On the left. And if we look at just tell me that everything is
Yep, everything's there. That's perfect.
okay.
We can
Good.
see everything.
So if we look at your birth chart,
Mhm.
at your natal chart, which
Yes.
is on the left,
Yep.
we see first of all that you are the splenic manifestor. This should be a chart that is familiar to everybody because we've looked at this in our last episode together.
We did.
So this is that chart on the left is the position of things when you actually graced us with your presence and blessed us with your presence in the world.
When I arrived into my skin suit. Yeah.
When you arrived, yes, and then with all the energies that you arrived with and so forth.
Right.
So that's your natal chart. Now, if you look, please, at your, let's deal with the chart in the middle later. But if you look at the one on the right, on at the far right, you'll see also that and you'll notice, by the way, in your natal chart that your conscious sun, the 58.6.
Yep.
The conscious earth, its programming partner, is the 52.6, which gives you, by the way, a conscious sixth line, as we know, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So if you look here at the right-handmost chart, you'll see miracle of miracles that on your birthday, the sun gate will be at 58.6 and the earth gate will be at 52.6.
I'm just I'm circling them, like, just for anyone who is watching the video. As Etai is talking, I'm actually pointing with the pointer so that
please,
can kind of
please
follow.
do that because good that you're doing that. Well, no, and this is what we mean, right? And that's a solar return. The sun and the earth have returned to the same position that it was when you were born, and we can see that if we're comparing those two charts on either side of the one in the middle. So, and like I said, you can have solar returns. Every month we have a lunar return because the moon goes through all the gates.
Yeah.
In 29 days, so you can track your lunar return. You can track any planet here. You can track its return, and we do it. You track Uranus oppositions and returns, Chiron returns again, and the return is a return to where it was at the time of your physical arrival on this plane.
Yes.
At the time of your birth. Good. So that, I think, covers the idea of what is a return. And in this case, as I said, we're dealing with a solar return. Now, what is so interesting and why do we even do solar returns? Because we know that what's the big deal? The sun gates and the earth gates are at the same place. So why is that so interesting? First of all, it's interesting because it's your birthday. We celebrate that.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to those of us who adore you. And I'm happy. I'm thrilled to count myself among them, among these people. But why is it so interesting? Because if you'll notice, outside of the identical sun and earth gates, which is what it's supposed to be, you'll notice that the other gates are different. Right? So look, for example, the one I like to look at most, or the one that that I was most drawn to, or that most drew itself to me, is, for example, your Mercury.
Yes, I'm pointing at it on my birth chart side at the moment.
And on your birth chart, it says what?
6.2 and 61.4 for my conscious. Do you want to just talk about conscious side? Sorry, I should have checked.
Okay, so this is an a good question, and it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
The way that we are generally taught, and the way that Annalena teaches, and the way that traditional human design teaches, one generally we only look at the conscious side,
Gotcha. Okay. And
but
then oh, sorry. You go.
but well, but we all know that we're rebels here,
Yes. We are.
and we're very, very proud of being rebels here, and I do it very intuitively and based on what we are drawn to looking at.
Yes.
I'm going to break the rules here a little bit and tell you that if you happen to be drawn to something on the unconscious side, we can look at that too. But generally, traditionally, when you're looking at returns, you're only looking at the conscious side.
Yeah.
And that's
gotcha.
that's what Annalena will teach when we get to that in the
Certification.
certification. I can speak English sometimes.
You can speak so many languages, your brain doesn't know what to put out
Yes.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, so oh, sorry.
So that's what happens. That's what usually will happen when you're looking at returns. At least with human design chart is we'll look at the conscious. But if it happens to be that you're drawn to an unconscious gate, we can also look at that too.
Yeah.
So if I look at your conscious Mercury when you were born, we have the 61.4.
Yeah.
Which is an incredible gate. I love that gate. It's the gate of inspiration. It's where we get all the inspiration from the quantum field. But if you go and you look, for example, at your Mercury on your solar return chart, you'll notice it's a slightly different number there.
Yes, 38 point.
Okay, 38.6. And what do we know? What do we know about Mercury again?
We know it's about communication.
Right. And what do we know? Wonderful. And what do we know, Cleve, about the gate 38?
38 is, to me, it always feels like knowing what to fight for. So if I got that right, it's the 38, which is the is it a huntress in traditional human design?
Well, it's the shadow of a struggle.
Yes.
And the gift of perseverance.
Yep.
So it's right. It's knowing what to fight for.
Yes.
And because it's in Mercury, tells me that it's quite possible that as a theme for the next year, because that's really what the solar return chart does, is it gives us themes that we might want to. Again, we're very careful not to be prescriptive about this. And those of you who've been patient enough to listen to me yammer on about this for 2 episodes will know that this should be my middle name already. Not prescriptive. This is not prescriptive. That this is only what feels best and what works. Right?
Yes.
This should, at its best, it should confirm things. But on offer here, the chart is offering you the invitation, and I, as a projector, love invitations.
Yes, you do.
It's offering you the invitation to contemplate the idea that for the next year, when you communicate consciously about it, you're going to communicate about things, about what's worth fighting for, what's valuable enough to fight for, what do you want to stand up for.
Yeah.
Venus happens to be our gate of values, but when I think about the 38, it's what's worth struggling for.
I just noticed too that 38.6 is where my Mercury and my Venus for my solar return year is, which is interesting in itself.
So you now understand why I was so drawn to the 38, because not only is it, and thank you for pointing it out, because I would have seen it eventually, but with my eyes, you never know.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
But it's of course not. It is no coincidence and not a mistake by any stretch of anybody's imagination, because the universe is just too intelligent for that. Right? That both your Mercury and your Venus are in the 38.
That's very cool. I'm familiar with this gate because at one iteration of the true sidereal when we were doing manual SVP calculations, it was actually in my incarnation cross.
Uh-huh.
Really, really related to the whole concept of gate of struggle and fighting for everything versus in the shadow versus almost this discernment of like knowing what you want to put your will and attention and effort towards fighting for that matters, not just to fight. Like not just to fight against everything, to rail against the world, which I definitely felt, you know, I had a very strong fighter in me as a youngster because I was always trying to prove myself, right? Whereas this
Right.
feels like leadership energy, and it's so in alignment with what is coming through for my business this year of like being an
Of course it is.
example of, being the example of not this awful coaches coaching coaches to coaches wankerdom that we see in a lot of spaces on the internet, but actually talking about sovereignty and empowerment and individuation and running your business aligned to your values and what's important to you. Like that actually really excites me to know that that's a theme, because I'm like, ooh, this feels like
And that's a double theme, and it's right on time. Notice also that they're both in the 6th line.
yeah,
What do we know about the 6th line?
role modeling, teaching. And I've
Thank
just
you.
gone past my Chiron return. So this year I turned 51. My Chiron return was
Well,
12.
and again, I happen to think that the energy of the Chiron return,
It's still
as
around.
a thing I've mentioned in the last time we played together,
Yes.
that the energy is more fluid than that, and it'll hang around for a bit. And so I
Yes.
think my sense is that you're still in there. So the fact that and you're a conscious 6th line anyway in your profile. So this 6th line energy, and you're really coming into that, flowering into that 6th line role around this time, which is exactly what you're meant to do, exactly what you're designed to do. So that 6th line energy should be very, very familiar, and you say it's aligned very much with what you're doing, with the energy of your business right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. So we're looking basically at when we look at, in this case, when we look at the solar return, like I said, the solar gates, the sun gate and the earth gates are going to be the same because it's a return. But what's interesting is every other gate, because the gates from the natal chart are going to be different. And the themes of this year, that you're invited to explore, invited to live out consciously, because looking at a chart is really about making the unconscious conscious, as Jung said. It's a wonderful tool, and we know that Jung always talked about making the unconscious conscious. Right? This is one of the best tools that I know. And one of the reasons I love it so much. One of the best tools that I know of making the unconscious conscious.
So good. Etai, I think we should pause to explain as well, because we're talking about solar return. The sun and the earth, which are like the earth is in opposition to the sun. So when the sun is right back in the gate, by definition, the earth must be as well.
And they're oppositions in the wheel. Do you want?
I think it's enough to say, I think, in opposition, because what I wanted to kind of draw out from you is the other gates are different because the other gates take longer in time to come all the way around in a cycle. So some of the slower moving planets are,
Well, some of them take longer. Some of them take. The moon, as we know, is the fastest moving body in the sky, right? The moon will actually go through, and put your seatbelt on here. The moon actually goes through 2 or 3 gates
every day.
Now in stellar terms, that is very, very, very fast.
Yes.
Pluto is a generational planet.
Yes.
The slow movers, the Jupiter return, for example, takes 12 years or so. So each of these planets have their own orbits and in their own, quote unquote time, whatever time means, the clock time, as Eckhart Tolle likes to say. But yeah, each of these planets are in a different place, because they're in a different position of their own cycle within a given year, right?
Yes. Yeah. Perfect.
In other words, what's on the right, what's on the left is a snapshot of the sky when you were born of all the planets that are written in. This is a snapshot of the sky of what will be the case on on your birthday this year.
3 days time.
In 3 days' time.
Exciting.
So,
That's cool.
yeah, and so the really interesting things come in this case below the sun and the earth, because those don't,
Yes.
those don't change. But again, if we look at, for example, Uranus opposition or Uranus return, or Saturn return, in that instance, the Saturn will be in the same Saturn return. Saturn will be in the same space as it was when you were born, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
what becomes interesting there is every other planet other than Saturn in a return chart.
Yeah. And can we also, I'm just thinking for people that are kind of newer to human design, and I will count myself in that bucket with life cycles. What I think is important too is we're not saying that your chart changes. What we're saying is that energy is influencing your chart for the next year or for the next whatever, like whatever we're looking at.
Well, in this case, it's for the next year.
Yes, for the next year.
Because it's a solar return. Yeah.
And so we're saying it's an influence. So it's almost like, I want to say, like it's the weather for the next year.
Very good. Very, very correct. In other words, and we've talked up to this point about the charts on both ends, right? We've talked about the chart, your birth chart, which is on the left, and the solar return chart, which is on the right. What we haven't discussed is this elephant in the room, this thing in the middle. Now, this thing in the middle, for those of you who are familiar with the way that genetic matrix likes to color code these things, and it's a feature in genetic matrix that's just an easy reference. Blue happens to be manifestor. This red that's in the middle happens to be mani-gen. Projectors happen.
It was generator, but of course it's a mani-gen. Yes.
It's a mani-gen. Generators happen to be orange.
Orange.
And again, this is a feature. This is sort of, and that's why I like to keep it there so I know. And I mean, I'm cheating. Sorry, Annalena. Because it just at a very quick glance, I know what archetype I'm looking at.
Yes.
So the blue is a manifestor. This red is a mani-gen. And again, this is only in genetic matrix. And
yes.
You can only get it if you have the pro version.
Yeah.
Orange, I think, is a generator.
Green is projector.
Green is a projector, and purple is the reflector.
I've never seen a reflected chart with it through a client or anything. So there you go.
Yeah, those are a little bit rare. I mean, we can look at those during another installment if you'd like, because those have their own uniqueness. The reflector, anyway. But so very, very important to note to emphasize here.
Yes.
And I've mentioned this before. For those of you who have a good memory, is that just because what we're looking at in the middle here says that Kylie for the year looks like a mani-gen and might feel like a mani-gen, might experience the energy of a mani-gen, does not mean that she for the year has changed her archetype.
Yes.
She is a manifester.
Yeah.
She is here to teach us the things that the manifestor archetype is here to teach us. And what is the manifestor archetype here to teach us, please?
Sparking, initiating, catalyzing, beginning, waking people up. Often feels quite penetrating if you're not ready for them.
Quite shocking. Yeah. Okay. Now, that at your core is what you, to the degree that we and I hate this because we're putting people in boxes again.
Yes.
Something I prefer not to do. But for the purposes of this discussion, and please don't, I'm always nervous to say this, but for the purposes of this sentence of the discussion,
Yes.
you are a manifester.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't even feel good.
I know. Let's say
So-
I'm manifestor archetype because that's
Okay, but so it just because for this year you are invited to delve into what it feels like to be a mani-gen doesn't mean that your core archetype changes.
change.
Doesn't mean that the core archetype of what it is that you're meant to teach us changes.
Yes.
Right? You are here to role model for us, not only because you're a 6'2", but also because you're a 6'2". You're here to role model for us what it looks like and feels like and smells like and tastes like to be Kylie as manifestor archetype.
Yes.
But and that doesn't change. So what is this mani-gen thing doing here?
And actually we always talk about intuitive, there's so much information in these charts, and you just pulled out the Mercury and the Venus because that's kind of where you were drawn. The other thing that I'm really noticing that I want to ask more about is the fact that
Please.
the middle chart, when you combine the two, is like every center's defined, which feels like a big difference to my chart. And please explain.
Well, and that goes into how do we get this? Because both of these charts in the middle, sorry, on the sides,
On the sides, yeah.
they look like manifestor charts. They're looped.
Yeah.
In order to oversimplify it. So what is this red thing doing there? That's an overlay of, you take as your base, you take the natal chart, you overlay the energies of the transit, of the solar transit, solar return chart,
Mhm.
and you get out of that, you get a mani-gen
Mm.
with all the centers defined. Now tell me, please, and tell us, please. I have to prove that I can teach something.
You always put me on the spot because I'm like, yes, let's see how well I've learned this. Yeah.
Tell us, please. Why is this a mani-gen chart in the middle?
Well, I mean, my initial reaction to that is because there's the 3420, which is the only real manifesting generated channel. But also,
Thank you very much. Yes, and that would have been the first place I go.
Yes, because the sacral center is defined, and also there is a motor connected to the throat.
Yes, either directly or indirectly. In this case, very, very directly. And
directly.
Elena and I are so proud of you.
Yeah, why thank you.
Very, very, very well done. Very well done. Many, many, many bonus points for your birthday.
Thank you.
This is how and why we have in front of us here, in the middle there, a mani-gen channel. So a mani-gen channel.
Mani-gen chart. The living from like a body graph.
A body graph. And in this case, because we overlay all of these things, both the natal chart and the transit chart, and that overlays all of the energetic connections. That's what defines for us all 9 centers. Now this is very, very powerful being all 9 centers defined. And for you, because I know you a little bit,
yes,
I'm going to invite you to be very careful about something.
yes.
What is it that I'm going to invite you to be particularly careful about?
I mean, I've talked about it on the podcast before. I do have a tendency towards overworking, which we've talked about initial discussions that we had on the podcast, and also because I have that defined will, which is, in the shadow, a lot about proving and rev.
Right.
When I have access defined to do it, defined sacral, definitely connected to that, I could deliver into burnout.
You very, very, very easily do that. So it's something that with particularly with this chart, I would say, and particularly with what you're working on, and what we've talked about, and what we are consistently talking about, I would invite you. I mean, of course, you're your own sovereign being. You do what you like. I'm not
Yes.
prescribing anything, God forbid. But I would invite you to be very careful. You're going to feel like you can move heaven and earth.
Yeah.
And you can. You just have to. You have to be careful, because all these things are going to be defined.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's going to be very, very important for you to just be mindful. I mean, always be mindful, but with this chart, it's burnout is very easily done.
Yeah. The other
Um,
thing that in my body, it feels like, and it's interesting too, because, I don't believe that it's the new year yet. I feel like we get into the new year and that kind of, I've always felt
that's going to happen. That's going to happen sometime in February.
Yeah, February 23rd for human design. But
for true sidereal human design.
yeah, sidereal human design is 23rd.
Tropical already thinks it's been there.
Yeah, I know. Tropical has already called it, and I'm like calling bullshit. But anyway, that's fine. I think that, no, not I think. I have sensed in the last 2 weeks in particular this huge surge, and I've talked to you about this, like this surge of like lots of change, lots of energy, lots of drive to shed skins because we're going. I haven't talked about that yet on the podcast, and I'm not going to, but there's a big change coming up in our lives. I'm going to keep that under my hat for a little while.
Yes. Yeah.
But because of this big change, there's been this big surge of like cleaning out, decluttering. And I feel like I said to you the other day, like, I feel like I'm coming back to what my normal level of energy has been like. And that actually makes me have alarm bells in my head, because I have burnt out before. Multiple times in my life, particularly in my younger life. And so I am reiterating what you've just said from the chart of like, I really need to be careful of not overdoing. And also, I feel like a big lesson for me right at the moment is knowing when enough is enough. Like,
and that's always been a lesson for you, because in your natal chart, you have an
undefined sacral.
I wanted to make sure, but the tendency of an undefined sacral in its challenging frequency is not knowing when enough is enough.
The other thing that is really standing out to me as well from this combination chart in the middle is that there is still a large split there between defined head and ajna and defined everything else. And I wonder,
yes, there is. And what does that mean?
Say about that, because
I actually would like to know what you would say about that. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's not unlike my natal chart, because there's a large split there as well. And what it can feel like is,
yeah, what does it feel? Because I don't have a large split in my chart. So please tell me, what does it feel like?
What it can feel like is that my head, my mental preoccupation and needing to be always in motion and making sense of things and having an internal dialogue with myself and thinking 58 things in 58 different ways and trying to figure things out and make sense of something and turn things around. I can get very easily into that space, and then I have to go, oh, hello, I have a body. Come back down here in my body. Hello, body. Now I'm feeling the world. Now I'm sensing the world. And I think that actually combines, my sense is that combines to the not knowing when enough's enough, because I've got this lots of pressure or lots of cogitation, analysis stuff going on up here. And sometimes I don't even sense what my body needs. Like, I can often, like, I will sprint across my backyard because my office is in my backyard. Sprint across the backyard because I'm just about to wet myself because I haven't realized that I need to go to the toilet. Like, so.
And that happened to us here.
Yes, it did.
Earlier today. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it to the toilet.
Yes, so am I.
So this is what happens here, folks. You talk about human design and the toilet.
Yes. Well, it's all bodily function.
You see, we're all inclusive here.
Yes. And do you know the other thing is too, I mean, I feel like this is another reason why I absolutely love voice noting with friends like you, voice coaching with clients, because it is really helpful for me to be in conversation to get clear on what is actually true for me out of all of this stuff going around in my head, because I don't often know how I feel or what the right next step is unless I'm actually verbally processing and coming to my own conclusion. And often like responding, which is, then we were talking before we started recording about, like, I really hard relate to generator, like responding. Like, you ask me a question, I can tell you, but if you just said, tell me about this experience, it wouldn't be as easy for me to actually tell you because it's not in response. Well, I suppose
Not in
response.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is the right place to talk about. I mean, this is more theoretical, but the difference between the practical difference
Yes.
between responding and waiting for the invitation. But
Yeah.
that I feel like is something we can do.
That might be another, like, what is the difference between being in response and waiting to be invited?
Because I'm still working with that, even though Elena and other people have explained it up the wazoo.
Yes.
Because I think that feels to me like another podcast or another installment.
Yeah.
We will address that, I feel, just not here. But what I do, because it's important. I mean, the way that each archetype engages with the world, is unique and important and very, very necessary. And that's why I think it deserves its own. It deserves its own space.
Yes. Yeah.
So
100%.
We will address that, I hope, in the future somewhere.
It's another episode, another installment of.
Yeah. But I think just before we leave, and thank you so much for that brilliant taking us into your world. What does it feel like for you to live this large split? Because as I say, I have a single definition. For me, it's very, very different. For me, it's immediate. I know it now, and I know it in the moment. I know it now, and for me, thinking about it, and that doesn't, as a single definition, splenic projector with a 2057. That's not my experience of life.
No,
at all.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and so it's very, very interesting. Now, why are we even talking about splits? In other words, it might be interesting. I mean, you've beautifully shared what is the experience for you of having a large
split,
of living a large split. But what is a split? In other words, and why are we even talking about it?
Yeah. So the way that I explain it when I'm doing readings is that if you think about the centers as these, like, now I'm going to miss my explanation. The centers are like centers of energy, and they can be either connected or not connected to other centers. And if they're connected in one, they're called a single, and it kind of is like everything flows together. You don't really need
in one continuous circuit.
One continuous circuit. Yeah. Whereas a split, which can be small or large, so large is when you need more than two gates or more than one gate to close the split, so connecting to
it can either be small or large. There's also triple or quadruple.
And so when we're talking about splits, like it can be 2, 3, 4, whatever splits, but it's basically saying there's like a group of energy here and then a group of energy here, but those two areas don't necessarily, well, they don't talk to one another. So sometimes
not easily, no.
Not easily. And my experience and what I hear, I've got a client who's a quad split.
And, good God.
Yeah. Her experience is that it can, literally the way she explained it is, it feels like there's multiple needs, wants, desires pulling me in different directions, like I'm on a stretching rack. And I'm like, that does not sound pleasant.
Well, that does not sound pleasant, and it doesn't sound comfortable. So, in practice, what this means in practice is that, generally speaking, we talk about splits in terms of decision making, right? How usually it takes people with large splits, or with splits of any kind, but the more the more centers we have that are operating independently of each other, in other words, that are not connected within a given chart, the more time it takes the system to process through a decision.
Yes.
So you as a large split are going maybe to have to take more time to reach a decision than I would as a single definition.
Yeah, see, it's interesting because I would
Maybe.
say for small decisions, the splenic authority I have definitely speaks in the moment. But for bigger decisions, like where to live, or, whatever, it
Or
takes.
what trip to take. Or,
Yes, exactly. It takes me speaking it out loud so that I can hear what I need, want, and desire with someone else. And it's
And
not
that,
that I'm looking for their input necessarily. I'm looking as almost like a sounding board to come to my own
yeah,
truth.
and that need to speak out or hear yourself speak
Mm-hmm.
comes from the fact that both in your natal chart,
Mm-hmm.
as well as, by the way, in this solar return chart,
Yes.
your head, your ajna, and your
Yes.
throat are connected one to the other one. Generally speaking, when either the head, when either when those three centers are somehow connected to each other,
Oh,
on top of it.
my head and ajna aren't connected to my throat. That's where the split is.
No, but I'm talking about, yeah, I know, but I'm talking
Oh,
about
one, two. Yeah, gotcha.
in this particular. No,
Yeah, no, all
okay,
three of them have.
right.
Yeah.
But in that configuration where the head and the eyes are connected, and then the throat is connected, the need to talk, right? The need to hear oneself speak is common, right?
Yeah.
And I see obviously that the head is that the head and eyes are not connected to the throat. When there is that activation,
Yes.
in other words, when the centers are colored in, however they're colored in, the head, the eyes, and the throat, the need to talk and to hear yourself process ideas out loud is possible and even I would say common, right?
Yeah. It's very
Now,
helpful.
what we now just because we're looking at your solar return, but when you are in aura with somebody else, and I think we've talked about this before, and depending on the chart, it could very well be, like I have a 1/8 channel, right?
Yes. Which is.
So when we come together, the head and the alpha and the throat are all connected too. So all of us, both of us together have this need to talk,
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
to hear ourselves process, which is why we end up spending hours with our But I mean, this is fun, but this is how we process things.
Yes.
Right? So this need to process like this can happen more. Again, can also happen with undefined heads. My head is completely, my head and eyes are completely open.
Yeah.
But when I come together with you, I get all sorts of ideas and things.
Yeah.
No.
And I love talking to you because you are always like, to me, this is a perfect example of the wisdom of an undefined center, because you are able to see things from many, many, many different perspectives and inspirations. So that's actually really helpful to see, because I can get quite fixed in my head of like the over processing. Whereas, yeah, I don't know, you've got like an innate curiosity with that openness that I feel like is helpful. And we were talking about like, I'm reminded of an episode that I did a little while ago with TJ and Bailey from the Playful Revolution. We were talking about the other day. It was like there's such a thing as intellectual play, and that is one of the reasons why we enjoy each other's company, because we can philosophically and intellectually kind of bounce ideas off one another and turn things around and ask questions.
Right.
And we're like, I don't fucking know. Like,
well, have you looked at it like this? And what happens if you turn it around like that? Yeah.
yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's really.
And look, I mean, it's very interesting because it used to be that my openness and my hedonasm used to drive me insane. Because if you don't realize that's how you design and that's how it's meant to be, and holding multiple perspectives and being able to contain the both and, because the culture expects us to
Have the answer.
have answers, immediately answers. You have a head and arsenal that are defined, especially with that 6124. You're gonna have answers. You're gonna have
Yes.
definite answers.
Yeah.
That's how you're designed. You're gonna have in the moment inspiration. I know.
Yes.
I see. I open head and arsenal is meant to hold multiple things. Before I realized that, and before I mean, I've been working on it for years, but it took me a very long time to see that as a strength, right? Because all these ideas, what am I supposed? Which rabbit hole am I supposed to follow?
Yes. And this is why I find human design so delicious, because it is so often. And again, we don't want to say prescriptive. We don't want to say that's the reason why or whatever. But when you can look at a chart and
it's one possible story we can tell.
yes, one possible story, but also, yeah, not everyone. To me, the genius of human design is not everyone is designed the same. So, being inside of any system where everyone is told they have to know. They need to know right in the minute. They need to do it this way. They need to think it that way. They need to live that way is just ridiculous, because we are all individuals with different energetics, different flows, different values. And that to me is the gift of human design. It's like, maybe this is just the way I'm designed. Like maybe I can give myself permission.
One of the gifts for sure.
Yeah. I really like that.
One of the gifts for sure. And so again, these energies can be experienced, and I think our discussion here has really, I hope, highlighted how these energies can be experienced so differently, not only by individual people, because this is, after all, the science of differentiation. We're meant all to be different, right?
Yes.
Another thing you'll hear me say over and over and over again, and I'll never get tired of saying it, but when two uniquenesses,
Yes.
like Kylie and myself and each and every one of you, come together in aura,
Yes.
then the expression of all of these energies is going to be equally unique. And that's the magic. Or that's some of the magic. Now,
it's kind of like, to me, when you say, like, when you meet someone new and like you really vibe with them, is the kind of what the language that
the current and vogue language is vibe.
vibe with them, or you resonate with them. But then sometimes you meet someone and you're like, not really my cup of tea. And it's not a judgment on them necessarily. It's just like, I don't feel good in the presence of this energy, whatever. And that can be many different reasons. But yeah, to me, that makes sense as well. And it also makes sense to me business-wise why, like when I look at client charts, there is so often similar themes or similar threads. And that's because I'm unapologetic in how I market and talk about what I do. And so the people that are in resonance are going to a certain extent, I'm not saying they're all the same, but to a certain extent, I explicitly market to disruptors, rebels, and revolutionaries for this reason. Like most have strong rebellion in their charts, or like not rebellion, but pattern breaking, shifting collectives, etc.
And one of the things that we might want to do, I mean, we've talked about giving each archetype its own, and how it engages its own episode. One of the things that we might want to do in another episode is look at our connection chart.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yes, because that will explain.
How you and I connect, and how and what energies, and how your energy and my energy, at least according to the chart, work together. And then that might be interesting. That is another episode in and of itself.
Very cool.
I mean, we're coming up here with all these ideas. And again, this is the wonderful thing about all this, is that there's so much to explore and so much to know and so much to learn. And you can look at a chart. I look at my own chart. God, I'm sure you've had this experience too. You look at your own chart, and all of a sudden you're having a particular day or a particular issue. Oh my God, this is why this is,
Yeah.
because of transit is this way. I mean, you're looking at the same chart, but all of a sudden something draws your attention. Why is it? Because I don't know. For me, it's an invitation to delve into that energy
Yeah, exactly.
more.
Yeah, and I love how you explained in the first couple of episodes too, like using the chart as a storytelling tool where you're kind of guided to go somewhere. And to me, that's also why downloading a free chart or whatever is great. And, everyone is always very much invited to do their own self-exploration, because I think that's actually the best way to do it.
It's necessary on some level.
Yes. And also it is correct, or at least in my belief, it doesn't, when you kind of download a plug and play report, it's almost like doing the same thing with astrology, right? The nuance of an actual intuitive human to actually help you draw out understanding or self-recognition, self-compassion through the lens of the chart is very different to a static report, because a static report it's looking at each piece separately and not necessarily the whole, which
and it's also a snapshot.
Yes.
And a snapshot will never, as I don't care how good of a snapshot it is, a snapshot will never reflect the living, breathing experience of living our life.
So
we're moving, we're breathing, we're doing things, we're interacting with things. The world is coming at us. Plans change all the fucking time.
You plan and life laughs in your face.
Exactly, which is a third line conscious. You would think I'd get used to. I'm not.
I know, right? Yeah,
but
I know.
So life happens, and again, it's a snapshot. Right?
Yes.
So this is again, it's a wonderful tool. But if it starts to be prescriptive, if any of this doesn't resonate, leave it and take what does resonate. Now, before we close this out, there are two things I wanted to draw our attention to.
Yes.
And this is another. First of all, this will help you hopefully on a day-to-day level navigate through this coming year. You'll notice in the middle chart and in the transit chart, you'll notice that you have one particular center there that I'm drawn to that you don't usually have defined.
I was going to ask about this. I think you're taking me to the same place.
Go ahead and ask.
I was going to ask about the G center, because that feels like a bugbear in my life.
Well, that's an interesting. That's not where I was going to go. But
okay, will you go with your intuition?
No. My purpose here is to guide you, so you're actually guiding us.
Okay.
I'm just here. I'll go where I go after this, but let's go to the G center.
Yeah, I'm drawn there because I do feel often that I think it's linked to this overworking pattern as well. Like there's a self-sacrifice or lack of self-care or love that I relate to with an open and undefined G center. But also this kind of feeling that's very, very common in my life of like, I've had 17 different careers. I've moved all over the world. And I often think, geez, I wish I could just feel a little bit more stable in my sense of who I am in the world. And so that's why.
And all of these themes are themes of, direction and self-love.
Yes.
Right? Are themes of the G center. Now, you are designed natally to have this undefined G, to know if an environment is right for you only if you're there. And by environment, I don't just mean a physical place, although I include that, but environment includes people.
Yes.
Environment includes other energies. You'll only know that sort of in the moment.
Yes.
which is very helpful with your splenic authority. In the moment I know things, well, your G center helps there.
Yeah.
But this year, what happens here is that you are getting a taste, possibly, of what it's like to okay, I know where I'm going. I have a sense of direction. That's I mean, we all have a sense of direction.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it. It's going to be fairly constant. I have constant access to it. These are themes that are consciously there, that are fairly constant. And and you get to explore those themes, go to school, discover what is it like to have a defined G center.
Yeah.
What is it like to have a defined G center for the year?
Yeah.
And then come back next year. You'll come back and report to us.
Yeah.
Huh? I'm already planning next year. I just told you not to plan, right?
You're right. And you never plan, so let's not plan.
But I can imagine you. Let's phrase it like this. I can imagine you coming back to us next year at your next solar return.
Yes.
And your chart will look different because it will. But reporting to us, what was it like to live with out this year with the theme of these gates and the feeling of a defined G center?
I'm looking forward to and when I was saying about this surge of energy, with that surge of energy is really, really crystal clear clarity around what I'm moving forward with and what is not coming with me, even with the new website that I'm just about to launch. Like all of those things has been a discernment process with this real clarity. It feels like if I'm talking traditional Chinese medicine, like a very metallic, like this is my direction and I know where I'm going and this is where
very sharp, very clear.
Yeah. And that is a very new sensation to me, because usually I would have 58 different ideas. And I don't mean so much how it's going to happen. I just mean the direction I'm meant to be going. And it is a lot to do with finally claiming the sixth line and the teacher and role model end of things as well, but knowing exactly what space and how to even talk about that and what that actually looks like and what needs to be created for that. All of those things feel very
clear. Beautiful. And again, these are all, keynotes, themes of gifts of at least on paper, in theory, a defined G center, right? So all of this is beautiful.
So where were you drawn to, Etai? What were you going to say?
I was drawn to the defined ESP.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And the reason I was drawn to the defined ESP is that, generally speaking, the recommendation is that when one has a defined ESP, or when the ESP is defined, we wait until the wave is done. And then we start to make decisions.
Yes.
Now, generally speaking, you have generally speaking, in your natal chart, there is no generally speaking, because because every day the transit is different. So, we never know. But natally speaking, that's a better way to put it. You have an undefined. So it means that you're absorbing and metabolizing
lots of other people's emotional stuff. Yes.
And that's still going to be the case, except that for this year, the theme this year is you're going to feel like you're going to have which one there? No, the 3536, which is all about and
I know.
So the 3536 and the 3041, which, if I'm not mistaken, are both collective.
I'm pretty sure both. Yeah, because they're. Oh, hang on.
I believe they're both collective, but
I don't know them well enough to know off by heart.
Right. But and I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, don't come for me. but my recollection is that they're both collective. But what I do know is that they both behave in such a way that these are both channel waves of expectations.
Yes.
Expectations ratchet up slowly. It's like a roller coaster, right?
Uh-huh.
Or some kind of an amusement park ride where you're
I hate
taken.
roller coasters, Etai. I literally hate them. Yeah.
I don't like them. I don't like them much either. I've never liked them much. But you take it up slowly,
Uh-huh.
and then the sudden, and then all of a sudden, boom,
Fall
the
off the
bottom
cliff.
the
Yeah.
bottom drops out of it, based on disappointed expectations.
Yeah.
But the 3536 is that kind of a wave, as is the 4130.
Interesting.
And you happen to have both of them defined for the year.
Just for kind of a
The-
little
the
bit of a
theme, yeah.
backstory for people who aren't understanding what we're talking about. So there's channels that will tell us what sort of emotional wave that people have, if there's definition there. And some of them are much more gentle, a little bit of up, a little bit of down, a little bit of up. And some of them can be quite drastic up and down. So they've all got different kind of feels. So
Yeah.
this one, and that's good for me to know because as you're talking about expectations and, falling off the cliff when they're not,
When they're not met.
to me, the key there is to not have expectations, right? So to be in trust.
To do our best not to come in.
And that requires, and this is something that I'm being called to in many different areas, is having the self-trust to know that life will bring whatever life brings and I will respond. And as long as I don't stay too fixed in what I want to create. And to me, this feels exciting. And even like my goal setting process this year, I was not masculine at all in my goal setting. I made a vision board based on feelings and places that I wanted to go. And everything else has got to do with encapsulating the feelings of wildness, freedom, rest, receivership, and that's it. And I'm like, that is the opposite of having expectations and fast plan.
And you know what? You have in this case, I mean, you have for the year the 2034, the only pure many-gen channel. And it's I love the 34.
Yeah.
Because it is the most primal
Yes.
and powerful gate in the system. In other words, this is just motor to throat. It is not aware. It just this not planning, this trusting, this whatever happens now. I mean, this is perfectly designed this upcoming year for you, and this is why I think this year is going to be such a gift for you and such a gift for all of us who experience you and get to share this year with you and your genius because it's just the perfect. I look at it and say, yeah, you have everything you need and all the power is there, and everything that you are dreaming of, the potential. I mean, the system is right there.
This is exciting. I feel
the container is right there, and it's all there for the taking.
Yeah.
And it's just this is. I look at this chart. I mean, I look at every chart, and I think, oh my God, perfection.
You love all of them, I know.
But hearing you and knowing you as I do, and knowing behind the scenes what is active within you and what excites you, and then looking at this chart, I'm thinking, of course, this chart.
So cool.
It couldn't be anything but this chart.
So cool. It's so affirming to hear this. And I'm reminded of, we had this conversation earlier this week when you said, the most primal, the word that jumped into my head is animalistic. And we were talking about earlier this week, I was saying to you, sometimes when I go on shamanic journeys, the guide that turns up is this black puma, I'm guessing. I don't know my cats, but I'm assuming it's a puma because it's black. And often when I start the journey as me inside of the body of the puma, like just stretching and just running and like feeling the raw power and the beauty of being in this fluidity of motion. And
and that is exactly the 34.
yeah. And then I said to you, the other thing that this guide keeps on showing me is to be able to do that, it also requires being languid in the shade when there's nothing to chase and there's nothing to do and there's nothing to create, because the pulse of life has not told you it's time to stretch, it's time to run, it's time to create, it's time to use the power. And I think that is a very different feeling to wanting power, which has definitely been something that's been true for me in early life, like feeling powerless, feeling out of choice, etc. And this feels like it's power, but it's with discernment of when to go and when not to. When to languish on a beach, for instance.
And when to languish in the shade and when to go hunting. Right?
Yeah.
And one more thing I want to just draw your attention to. And this is meant to help you also.
Yes.
At the bottom there, you see there's a whole, but under personal channels.
Yes.
Right?
This confused me when I looked at it because I want personal to be in birth, but it seems like they're back to front.
Well, personal channels are the channels that you have in your personal chart for this year.
For this year. It's a combination.
Birth channels are the channels that you were born
Yes.
with.
Yeah. That's a lot of isn't
it? You noticed.
Like, wow.
Yeah, and that's why I say powerhouse. But the reason that I want to draw your attention to this list at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I've sent you this chart so you have it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I sent it to you in
yes,
WhatsApp.
You did. Yes, you did.
But if you need sort of the quick reference guide of the themes that you might want to explore in the coming year, the names of the channels, the names of every channel, not just the ones listed here, but for everybody, the names of the channels are a good way of sort of
feeling,
a good sort of entryway into contemplating what the energy of the channel might feel like for you. Right. So you have here a quick reference of, well, what does charisma mean to you? What is, how is the channel of struggle coming up right in this moment? What is the channel of exploration or the alpha or the all of these words when you're sort of needing
feel the energy of them.
Yeah, needing direction, needing sort of a grounding, sort of a touch point. And I know how much you enjoy, thinking about things as I do. Just this is a wonderful, in my experience, sort of, sort of the Cliff Notes version, if you want, of I have in this year, the career, exploration is a theme for me. And how am I living that out? Or, how is the channel of the alpha, a leadership channel coming out for me this year? So this is almost like a quick notes version of the themes that you're invited to explore.
I feel like there is so many, and I think this is probably actually a good time to mention this too, is I feel reflection with the human design chart, it's not meant to be like drinking from a fire hose. It's meant to be being like exactly like Etai showed us today, is like your attention being drawn to one particular thing. And if we're talking about those personal channels that are the kind of overarching themes, like where does my sense want to go? And I think the one that's actually calling to me the most at the moment is that mutation channel, which is interesting. And, the geneticist in me is always like, mutation is for evolution. Like that's the connection there for me, is like, okay, I want to feel into that. And I want to, okay, so where is that connecting from into? And what does that actually, like, what's the energy of that feel like? And it's so interesting that looking at all of those words, so much of that has got to do with my plans for this year. It's not funny. I'm definitely being led in the right direction.
And again, this is another instance from proof of concept of the fact that these charts, whether they're astrology, whether in this case human design, they're meant to confirm not to predict. The reason that this is so powerful is because it's already confirming things that you already know and that you're already taking action on and that you've known for a very long time. Now, all this is doing is it's giving your left brain something to, now it makes sense. Now I can play. Now I can calm down and let the rest of it just be.
Well, do you know what? The biggest thing I'm taking away, like I'm taking many things away. The biggest thing I'm really hearing, two things actually. First of all, the definition and the awareness of the burnout. So that just says to me that all of these daily habits that I'm stacking at the moment, that I'm recommitting to, are going to be incredibly important to have the foundations for making sure I'm actually aware of where my body is. And then the second thing is just actually this so many things. The G center and feeling into really, really noticing the difference between, that openness that I usually have and the clarity. And also maybe there's an invitation there at the end of the year to be like, it felt, these parts of that definition felt really, really good and nourishing to me in my body. And maybe there's a shadow there too. Like maybe something
there's a shadow in every gate and
of course, yes.
And so that will come up, and you'll get to learn and know those very well too throughout the year.
Yeah. And then the third thing definitely is that emotional solar plexus, because one of the things that I noticed with my natal chart, that my original design, that 6th gate, which is the only definition in my emotional solar plexus, I can very easily be in the shadow of that, which people pleasing and not confronting and doing things out of obligation. And, because you sense a need in someone and fulfilling that need like it's your job rather than leaving space for other people to do that. Like
the shadow of the 6 is conflict.
Yes.
It's about, and that's interesting because the 6 and the 59, when that channel is together, that's a channel of mating. So there's supposed to be a friction there, right?
Yeah.
That 6 is naturally drawn in the shadow frequency, and that's why Annalena doesn't use the word shadow, but in the challenge, right? Of course, it'll be more drawn to conflict and to rubbing up against, and
Well, I think for me, the avoidance is that not wanting to get into conflict, but letting it get to the stage where the only way for me to release the emotional tension is to then be avoiding conflict to please others and then letting it all out unhealthy.
And that is another common, or can be another common presentation or expression. I don't want to sound too clinical here.
Yeah.
Of the open or undefined
solar plexus.
We do, and I can speak to this myself. I have a completely open solar plexus. I abhor and will do everything possible to avoid conflict like the bloody plague.
Yep.
And you and I you've seen me enough now in conflict situations, or in situations where, and I think you know what I'm referring to here, but where conflict was just under the surface, and I'll be honest with you, my first instinct is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Go as far away as possible.
Yeah.
Where and that's common with an open or undefined ESP.
Yeah, totally is.
There's a lot here, and I'm just, first of all, I'm excited for you in this year. This year is going to be a great year. I'm thrilled that we were able to do this. That this is a great way, and this is why I think it's important to do these ideally.
Yes.
Before your birthday, which is
3 days time.
This Friday. So
yes,
for those of you who are listening to this, let's wish Kylie a happy birthday, happy solar return. But it's so important, I think, to do them before, because it gives us a sense of, okay, And again, to do it consciously,
Yes.
to live our design consciously
Yeah.
is the greatest adventure that there is.
So cool.
Just be aware of the possibilities of what's out there, of the potentials of what's out there.
So cool.
And
So cool.
and that's what the solar return, well, that's what any return can do. But it gives you a sense of, okay, so if I'm feeling like this, maybe I'll look at the solar return chart again. Maybe I'm actually designed to experience this thing this year.
Yeah. I'm really grateful to know about the emotional wave because of the fact that we are making huge changes this year. So it kind of gives me an extra kind of heads up of like, hey, just be careful to like follow the feeling and let life lead you, but also be careful not to be setting so high expectations that reality can't fulfill on them. Like
I will. I mean, and again, word choice here is important
yes.
because I want you to choose a word that is just enough to keep you conscious of it, aware of it, but doesn't put you in a
Negative.
position where you're gun shy to have experiences, because this coming year is going to be a year full of experiences.
Yes.
And I want you to really relish that, revel in them.
Yeah.
And just revel in them and be aware of all this. And this year is going to be so rich for you on so many levels. And I can't wait to hear all about it.
Thanks. And yes, thank you for the reminder, because this is not meant to be, yes, warning. It's just stay mindful.
No, this is, I don't want to warn anybody off of anything. This is just, again, it's going back to the Jungian idea of making the unconscious conscious.
Yeah.
What we know, we can at least choose how to engage with. If we don't know something, then if it's meant to come up and hit us upside the head, it's meant to.
Yeah.
But I prefer things not to come up and hit me upside the head. They don't have to. And the chart gives us a tool not to do that.
Yeah. So
if we choose to use it that way.
Thank you so much. I feel like I've received the most beautiful gift. And I really want to just say to people, like, the threads of this conversation is all about letting your intuition guide you, not looking at this as a prescription, thinking about things in terms of archetypes and energy flow or energy weather, if you want to put it that way.
Weather is a great term.
Yeah, I like weather, because it's like I can choose to be shitty about a stormy day, or I can revel in the rain too. That's what it reminds me of.
And the thing with weather is it shifts.
Yes.
It's not
too shall pass. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
And if you're curious about your solar return, the beautiful Etai offers solar return readings and also other return readings. So
I do indeed. Every return possible. We anything interested in human design wise, and let's explore together and see what we find.
Yes, so good. So we'll put links down below of where to find Etai online. Thank you.
That also is
in flux.
We're working on it. We promise.
Yes.
Both Kylie and I are working on it, and I'm so grateful for your help in this process. We're all an evolving process that's constantly in motion.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what comes out of it. I'm excited, Kylie, for your upcoming year and all the adventures that you're going to have.
I feel like my soul is wagging its tail.
I wish you really a happy birthday. Wishing you all that you would wish for yourself in the coming year. Happy birthday, many happy, healthy returns, and much love always.
Thank you so much. Until next time, because we'll be back.
We will be back.
See you. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If this episode lit a fire in your body, in your business, deep down in your bones, please take a moment to drop a rating and review so more rebels just like you can find us. And don't keep this goodness to yourself. Share it with your disruptor, rebel, and revolutionary friends who are ready to roar right alongside of you. Until next time, stay wild, stay unapologetic, and stay fucking free.